It's Thursday, April 25th, 2019. You're listening to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Hello, and welcome to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I'm your host, Chris Quinn, coming to you from Studio B here at the Co-Prosperity Sphere. We got you. There's no way you can't hear this.
That's me.
Yeah, that's Studio A. There's some sort of a sound system jam going on, and there is the speaker is, what would you say, 8 feet, 8.5, maybe 9 feet by. Yeah,
it's 10 foot by
10 by 10,
6
maybe.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 by 10.
Yeah, a giant speaker, giant speaker, and
mostly
apparently,
subwoofers.
Yeah, and according to producer Jamie, the level that it's at now is at level 3 compared of 10 that it will be. So it should be good. I mean, they're having fun.
I heard it goes to 11.
Yeah, this one goes till 1 a.m., so it'll be going much.
Can I just say that's the second Spinal Tap reference I've squeezed in the last 10 minutes?
Really?
We're proud.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't pat myself on the back, but no one else would do it.
I mean, let's see how many more you can get. They have to be, but it has to be at least slightly unforced. It has to make sense in context.
Slightly unforced.
Let's see how many you can get in there.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to thank Lumpin' Radio for having us on this beautiful Thursday night. We can watch people through the inner window having a good time here. I was told to speak up, so we'll have to speak up. Usually not a problem for me since I speak directly into the microphone. I think I was told by producer Jamie I'm the second loudest person on Lumpin' Radio. The loudest being
EdMar.
Yeah, obviously.
I can hear him from here, and he's not in the building.
Yeah, EdMar is the loudest person, I'm sure, by far. But nonetheless, thanks to everyone here for having us yet again. Thanks to you guys for listening, be it live or podcast. If you are listening via podcast or typically do, feel free to leave a review. I had a couple reviews recently, so thank you guys for that. Always very appreciated. Well, if you're listening for the first time, what I like to say, although I'm off book now, I haven't been on book for
we're all very proud.
Yeah, seems like it. Well, if I don't pat myself on the back, no one will.
That's for sure.
The show's going to disappear into its own belly button so fast.
Yeah. So, essentially, what I try to do with the show, the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable, is recreate some of my favorite things about the craft beer industry, which is getting a bunch of people who are passionate about craft beer and have made it a part of their life in one way or another, being it by making it or selling it or facilitating it, marketing, writing about it, drinking it, anything. Getting together and just talking about the stuff that affects our lives and our livelihoods, and that's what I try to recreate with this show. And this one I'll also be recreating often where it happens, which is in a loud environment. so
we do hang out and listen to reggaeton and dub often when we talk about these
almost
issues.
Exclusively.
Yeah,
if I'm there anyway.
Well, if you have anything to say about it,
yeah. Again, Chris. Again.
I don't know if you guys have been to the Beer Temple, but
yeah.
Smoke machines.
Oh yeah, all the time. And those horns too. I love those horns. I call them the Ibiza horns, but
I thought you were talking about bison horns.
Oh, those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dusty.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Dusty.
My namesake.
That's true.
Am I I'm Dusty, right?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
Dusty.
Good.
You're Dusty. So, yeah, Dusty's on the wall. He has been named. He has a name. He has a plaque now.
Do people know that he's a taxidermied bison head?
Some people do. The people who've seen him do.
so the audio,
people listening,
the listeners have no idea.
Yeah,
what
he's
No, the listeners have no idea what you two are talking about. I have no idea what you two are talking about.
You'd be surprised. Speaking of the reviews, there was a really nice review, 5-star review, and said, it's interesting, very insightful. A lot of the stuff is Chicago-centric, but it kind of, it can relate to just kind of universal issues going on in craft beer here in the States. And they said, at first you might feel lost at times with the frequent recurring inside jokes that are mentioned.
I don't have
but they
any
said
idea.
keep listening, and soon you will get them, and you too will be an insider.
I have no idea what those people would be talking about.
Yeah. So So for everyone who says stop with the stupid zombie dust jokes,
Who says that?
there's a review.
Who said that?
There was a review that was like,
who did it?
I mean, I don't want to tell you.
Citra
who.
Hater, 88.
I think it was. It might have been when you guys were having a tiff, you and Buster. I think he
Yeah.
might have gone on and
Yeah.
done that. But anyway,
Vindictive.
So there's a giant bison head at the bar now, up on the wall,
Nice.
and I named
Yeah.
him. He was named Dusty, so his name is Dusty, I guess. Yeah, so he's up there, and he kind of dominates the room. He's giant.
Is the Schlitz sign up there?
I have the Schlitz sign, and I talked to the person who was helping me do the room. I showed them the Schlitz sign.
For those that have no idea what we're talking about, I graciously gave Chris a beautiful Schlitz sign because he had nothing on the walls
It's
of his
giant.
little bar. Mm-hmm. And I thought it looked terrible. I was like, here, take some of my wonderful swag. And I never saw it hung up. Never.
Wow.
I still have it.
Yeah.
And I told you if I'm
Still
never going to
have
do
it.
it, I'll give it back to you.
And my wife won't like that.
So, but yeah, I specifically said, here, come back. I want to show you this. There's anywhere that this can go, but it's so big and it has to hang off something. It's like two-sided.
That's what my wife said.
Yep.
About the sign.
Yeah.
Surge,
No, I
you
knew.
perv.
I knew.
Yeah, good.
Anyway, I have to mention, probably, I should make it very clear, especially on this episode, that the opinions of my guests are their own and not affiliated with Lumpin' Radio or any other entity other than themselves. So with that, I'll get to the guests in order of seniority. Small crew. We had MC Crush was supposed to be on, but he's held up in Seattle.
It's crushing beers in Seattle.
He's crushing Fremont.
Yeah, Fremont barrel
Fremont,
stouts.
yeah, in Seattle,
Cloudburst
so he can't make it. But the people who are some senior members of the Insiders Roundtable crew. The senior most member is who I'll introduce first, as I always do, Mr. Mike Schallau, a.k.a. man, so many.
Numbs to be
Buster.
I thought it was Dusty.
No, Dusty
Yeah.
Strong Mike Strong. Probably some others as well.
Yeah, a lot of persona. Very
Yeah.
good personas.
But how are you?
I'm great.
Yeah?
Thanks for having me on.
Welcome. Were you in China?
I was in China. I was in China for about a week. It's the weirdest place I've ever been.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff where the whole rest of the world, including other like Asian countries, like, all right, we're gonna do it this way, and then you get to China, like, no, we're not doing that.
Can you give an example? One come to mind?
Probably the one that comes to mind is not necessarily radio friendly.
Right.
So
If you want to get a prostitute,
no, it involves children in a style of pants called split pants. That's as much as I'll go into that.
okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that's worthless because nobody knows
You just
what
Google
it means.
it. You're listening to it on your phone.
Chinese split
Yeah.
Chinese child split
Yeah,
pants.
you could also look up like split pants in China Disney, and you'll get some interesting articles about sanitation.
Oh.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
Okay. Well, moving on.
Yeah.
Anything else new with you?
No, this was in China. Haven't really nothing else really. I bought a car.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I got a car. I've
Nice.
never owned a car before. I'm 30 years old.
Like a race car, a sports car?
Yeah, I got an F.
Matchbox car.
An F1 car?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Quick off the line, man.
Yeah, very fast. I can get from stoplight to stoplight incredibly quickly. The
It's
potholes
amazing.
have been an issue, though.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And the tires, I think, are incredibly expensive to
Yeah.
replace.
Yep. Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't rain, too, because they're completely slick.
Yeah, right. And it's just open top.
Yeah.
My head's just
Yeah,
dangling
it's
out. So I made it. It might have been an impulsive purchase,
Yeah, but
but on Cars.com, when you see one of those come up, you gotta grab it.
how often?
Yeah,
You got a couple $100,000 burning a hole in your pocket.
yeah, that's right. As I often do.
Yeah. Well, thanks for. So you went to China and you bought a car.
I bought a Volkswagen.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, one of those tainted TDI
Oh,
Jetta sport wagons that
yeah.
they all fixed, and then they're trying to basically give them away. So
Oh, good.
Yeah.
New? You bought it new?
no, it's used, but it only has 48,000 miles on it, and it was all in Florida. So did my homework.
Flat.
I talked him down a whole $50 too. So
Oh, well done.
Yeah, thank
Your
you.
dad would be proud.
yeah, super. Well,
Talk
no,
him down, son.
he grew up in a car dealership, so he's trying to. He wouldn't want me to talk him down. He's like, those people work hard.
Oh, give him more.
Yeah, I tried to talk him up.
Talk him up.
I talked him down $50, and they fixed the battery in the key fob. So I think I really won that one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Mr. Pat Berger.
Christopher, how are you, sir?
I'm very well.
Sorry, I was listening to the dubstep.
Yeah.
Listen to what?
I don't think
Whatever
this
this
is
music
dubstep.
is.
I can't
It's
hear
not?
Oh, I think
I'll
it's
Google that later.
yeah, reggaeton is what Mike said. So
Reggaeton?
I'm going to go with that.
I don't.
Never heard of
don't
it.
go with
What
don't
is
go
it,
with what I'm
Serge?
saying.
What is this? It's just reggae.
Not reggaeton.
New wave
New wave
reggae. Okay, got it. Cool.
Yeah, we all
I like
we
it.
knew that.
I dig it.
I kind of like it.
I'm digging it. Yeah.
It's good.
What's new with you? I like the haircut. I
yeah.
do.
Yeah, thank you. Good. Yeah, it's my new look. I'm giving up on the hair. Mm-hmm. And just shaving it pretty much. And yeah, no, everything's good. Work, kids, and can't complain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are the? I mean, obviously, I missed it because whenever you're on, you've either just had and I missed a Pilsner or Kel event, or you're about to have one and I can't go for some reason. So.
Yeah, we did just have one at both places. I
Last
drank my
Thursday, in
fill.
fact.
Yes, we're trying to get me on the podcast last Thursday, and I
Yes.
was like, dude, I am going to be in no shape to talk on your podcast.
That hasn't stopped a lot.
Maybe
of
it'd be,
people
maybe
from
I'd be
getting on the
be in
podcast.
good shape, but yeah, I drank my weight of it last Thursday because we had 2 kegs.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great.
Cool.
Tastes good.
Yeah, man. Very cool. What else is new with you? Work, kids.
Yeah, same old. Going to New Orleans next week for Jazz Fest. Just
Yep.
me and the wife, and that's all I can think about. Count down the hours,
Every year, right?
getting the heck out of town. Yeah, every year.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Whoa, there we go. There's some. I'm
some
gonna listen
bass.
and see
I
if
think
we
we're
can
at
hear
3.5 now.
Yeah. So
You think they can't hear this?
I think they're. Well, Pat said that he.
Oh, I don't think the
listens and he
mics
can't
pick
hear.
this up at all.
Yeah, the mics aren't on the floor, so they're not feeling the
I mean, there was
vibrations.
something literally on that shelf. I don't know if you noticed that flashlight. It vibrated and just fell off the shelf. So it's going to be like that Maxell commercial where stuff's just sliding. Our beer glasses will be sliding into our hands. But anyway, thanks for both you guys. Small crew, but I think you guys are seasoned pros, so we can get through this.
Hot take professionals.
Hot take professionals, plenty of beer opinions to go around. Hey, have you done any episodes lately?
No, I think beer opinions might be done.
Beer dead.
Yes.
Dead opinions.
Yeah, I got kind of bored with it. I think we talked about it last time I was here.
Yeah.
I was like, man, these podcasts are hard, and it's getting kind of boring. And you're like, yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, I think this is episode like 170.
I know. Yeah, I got up to like 35, and I'm like,
Yeah.
forget this, man. I ran out of stuff to talk about.
Right.
But yeah, I did kind of get bored with it, and it was a bit of work. And I already have a couple jobs, and then I have your podcast to come on, which, quite frankly, a lot more people listen to than mine. So, probably no more beer opinions. Although it's it will forever live on the interwebs.
Yeah, and maybe if you're really fired up about something, you can have one on and
Absolutely. Yeah.
put one out there.
Yep, I can always do that.
Yeah. People will get the little notice that there's a new one, and then they'll
People
say,
love notices.
Yeah, all
New.
all
New,
four
new.
of them will get that
new.
notice.
I'm telling you, people were mentioning that they listen to the show.
I joke about it, but I don't think that many people were listening. But whatever.
Whatever. Yeah.
It was fun though, right?
It was for
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
Until it got to be
While you were doing it,
tedious.
it was fun.
Yeah. Every time while I was doing it, it was always fun.
Yeah, and you just did it right there, right at your business.
We did at the end. We were going to other people because that was the hardest thing, was to get people to
Yeah.
come to me. So then we
Try
were going
getting
to
them
them, and
on
I
the
was like, oh,
Bridgeport.
this sucks even more.
Try getting him to go to Bridgeport.
I know, right?
Yeah.
The Community of the Future?
Yeah,
Yeah. Hasn't
yeah.
arrived yet.
yeah, not there, not quite there. Very soon, very
Yeah.
soon.
Right on the edge.
So, what beers you guys had lately that you've enjoyed, or if there's any beer you're looking forward to trying? Anything?
So I was in China. I got to try some beers from all over the world. Some of my favorite were from a brewery called Sun Mai, which is in Taiwan. They actually have a guy who's a German brewmaster who has the master's degree in brewing.
Oh, like an actual brewmaster.
Yeah, and I found out, and was like a beer consultant all over the world and stuff. And I found out he actually was born like 20 minutes from where my family comes from in Germany.
Ah.
So there's Schallau's in Werl, Germany, and he's from like Dortmund, which is really close. Or he's from outside Dortmund, but also I loved his beers.
We're not going to be able to. We're not going to check. You're not from Dortmund. You're from outside it. You're a
Yeah.
suburbanite.
from Werl.
Yeah,
But yeah, so he had some great beers,
like German stuff, or
some German stuff, some like cool pale ale stuff with some like toasted rye in it that gave this nice like toastiness, that like chocolatey characters that you wouldn't normally get in that.
cool.
It's also cool to go to one of those things where there's literally beer from all over the world, and you see people's interpretations of things. It gets kind of myopic when you're here drinking. Everyone's trying to kind of make the same same thing in those styles. Like you try to, and then you go to someone from Taiwan who
And
hasn't
they're
had
doing
a million
like
and one
they're
of
doing
these
like
things,
Mosaic Citra Amarillo instead of Sabro Citra Mosaic.
I don't know if the Sabro craze has quite gotten to Taiwan yet, nor has it gotten into the ranks of the storied German brewmasters.
Yeah,
Actually, I bet they would hate that hop. But no, it's interesting. It's like you can drink IPAs from all over the world, I guess, which is just the style that everyone's making. But they are legitimately varied and
Are they?
different. Yeah, and it's not. I mean, everyone's trying to make like American style beers for the most part. This was like an American style craft beer festival held by Great Leap in Beijing. So I guess it wasn't necessarily American style, but when you talk about like craft beer
kind
the
of.
driving parts of it in the most of the world now are the American craft beer culture and brewing. So it's interesting to see people's interpretations of that kind of thing and taste them next to yours and next to other American beers.
Anyone who tasted like top tier American.
The people that are making IPAs.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. They're not getting the same quality of hops that we're getting for the most part. So you can taste that they are making a very high quality beer that might not necessarily have the same quality of ingredients by the time they're getting them.
The JBUs just aren't there.
JBUs are not off the charts. They also don't have we're in countries like where Hong Kong doesn't have White Labs or Omega, so you
Right.
can't just go get British 5. Or Japan is getting things from Y East, but they have to go like over the
Yeah,
they
over the
ship them
Pacific,
from
yeah.
So it's interesting to watch what other people are doing, and I had some Brett beers actually from Anglo-Japanese Beer Project that were super cool. So there's interesting stuff going on everywhere.
Okay.
But yeah,
Pat's trying to get as many Spinal Tap references in. I'll try to get as many inside joke references as I can, and see if you can spot them all, guys.
Yeah.
See if you can spot them all.
You have to
can
edit.
email in.
Just to bookend this one by saying there are 37 inside references.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they just kind of roll off the tongue now. I don't even know.
It's part of the normal.
But there's people who will
in
have picked up on it.
the larger zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Dust Brothers on TV.
Yep. I mean, yeah. What do you call a Dust Brother?
Dust or bust.
Yeah, we were talking about it. Still one of the greatest moments of my professional career.
I'm glad you said professional, seeing as you have 2 children and are married.
Yeah. That's my father is adamant that the greatest moment of his life was when Villanova won the national championship. When asked,
He's an honest man.
When reminded that he has 2 kids, he then says, "I repeat." Greatest moment. So, thanks. And he said it in my presence. So, yeah, I love my dad, and I, anyway.
Wish it was mutual.
Yeah.
He was at Patty Long's when it happened.
Yeah, the second time. No.
Well, maybe it wasn't the final.
Yeah, it wasn't the
but
final.
I did experience your father's insane Villanova insanity.
Yeah, I wanted you to get a piece of that.
Yeah,
see it.
It explained a lot.
yeah.
Let's just say that.
Did he go to Villanova?
Yeah.
Because you didn't go to Villanova.
I did not.
But you inherited the Villanova fandom.
I mean, he literally carried me in his arms into the games and made me recite the fight song when I was at singing the ABC age.
So are you technically a disgrace to your family now?
No. Let's get a little personal. I would have had to commute to Villanova.
Drive from home.
Yeah, and I was just like, that's not going to happen. So he understood.
Yeah,
he did. He liked Delaware.
And then he said that his favorite moment is when the school you didn't go to won the
national
championship.
I mean, I'm sure he would have liked me to go, but he was kind of whatever. We don't have to get into. We don't have to get into that.
Let's break it down, Chris.
Yeah, let's break it.
Let's
get into the arguments.
Lay down on the couch, Chris, and tell us about your father.
Yeah. Well,
this is really
unfair.
Topic.
Oh, people are gonna love this.
Are we talking about beer?
We'll come right back.
But how about you? What beer have you had? I saw the look you gave Mike when I asked what beers have you had lately. So this was all just to give you some time. To think
and it
of
worked.
Something.
I was going to say, although Jake isn't here tonight, I've really been digging the lagers coming out of Hopewell. I've stopped learning beer names. I do know what you mean. I don't know if I already talked about this, but I only have so much brain space, and there's too many beers, and I still have to learn all these breweries, and so I'm cutting out the beer names. I don't know what any of them are called anymore.
The worst ones for me are the rustic style farmhouse ales that are often, there's a trend now since with Side Project I think started to name them have French names. So sure. I just have no idea, and I don't, the words don't mean anything to me, so I'm just it
took me 2 years to learn Unani's name.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm being honest, I don't know the names of a lot of our beers at this point because there's so many of them, and I pretty much only deal with the recipe development and the making of it, and Kate handles most of the other stuff. So once
then I don't feel bad at all. I got to learn a lot.
700 beers.
She'll know the names and the labels, but I have no idea what the beer is.
I'll vaguely know. I'm what is all internet cats? That Idaho 7? I don't.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Some of them are sentence, and 3 or 4 words and stuff. So it's too much. So I don't learn the names. But they had a black Czech Pils, a black Czech lager that was really, really good recently.
Really good beer.
No idea what it was called.
It's called Off Black, and it's is it called Off Black?
I think it's called All Black.
Off Black.
No, never mind.
Not All Black.
How much more black can it be?
Yeah.
None more black.
More black. Should be called None More Black.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a beer called that. Right?
It doesn't count to use the same reference twice.
Yeah, but that one wasn't on the air. The first.
Now,
one.
if I said a beer have you had Chela Negra? What would you say? Have you ever had that beer? Do you remember that beer name?
No.
It's the beer you're literally drinking right now.
Yeah, but you can't read this can. Yeah. This can is almost illegible.
Yeah. It was just a test, and you passed. You really don't know beer names.
No, I don't.
For me, let's just keep it with lagers. I was at Denver last week, and I had the famed slow pour pills from Bierstadt. Good pills, very good pills.
Yeah,
very good pills. So let me start out by saying, slow pour pills is a very good German pilsner. It is a better German pilsner, I think, than I was gonna say as better than any being made in Chicago, a classic German pilsner.
Sure.
I had Spiteful's again yesterday. Man, theirs is
Yeah?
pretty darn good. Very authentic, very kind of classic German. Very good.
Love it.
But people there, or when they're in Denver, they are like, you know how it's like the industry thing to say is like how much you love Pilsners. It has been for a little while. Anyway, so people were just going bananas. They were going ape for this slow pour Pils. And I had one. Like, oh, it's really good. It does take 5 minutes to get one. And
Yeah, I saw 10 photos of them on Instagram.
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah.
It's what I think is that maybe in Colorado they don't get high quality fresh German lager there is what I'm guessing, because it tasted like a
Possible.
good German lager.
Yeah.
But I mean,
That
here-
could be. Chicago is unique in
we
the
just-
fact that we
yeah.
get all of this killer German beer.
Yeah.
Because
and
we
Glenn's
had
direct
all these
import
German-
some of
Yeah,
them.
and we had all these German restaurants
Right.
Yeah.
that were plowing through it.
And like Stiegel, which is Austrian, but same style,
Yeah.
is imported by Glenn's
Glenn's, yeah.
here in Chicago. So, I mean, I've had Stiegel Pils that's just been like every bit as good as that Bierstadt Pils, which is to say, really darn
Yeah.
good.
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
You're
it's
not trying to take
it's
anything
not
away
a
from it.
singular lager experience, which is what I was
Hoping for.
expect. Well, people in the industry were like, "Oh, yeah, no, it's the best in the country. It's
The unfiltered Stiegel is coming in any day. It's stuck in customs.
Paracelsus.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
We just got some in. Are you sure?
Oh, maybe it is in.
I
then.
think it just came in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we order Monday.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, we just got it this week.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's good. That
When's
beer.
When's that going on?
I don't know. I have an anniversary party coming up, so
Is it like tomorrow though? You gotta tap that thing fresh.
Yeah,
Right.
tap that thing, man.
Don't tear us.
Tap it and let me know how it tastes
I
this
know.
weekend,
Yeah.
because it's been in customs for a little while.
Uh-oh.
That's, yeah.
This is the real insider stuff.
Yeah, well, sometimes it gets caught up, and when it comes in, it has like a little tangy flavor to it.
Yeah.
And that means it's a little old.
We'll see.
What do you think
We'll
that
see.
tang is? That's
I don't.
electrolysis?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the yeast. The yeast turning tangy. I don't know.
Got it.
You would know. I just
I
know
don't
what
know.
it's supposed to taste like and what it ends up tasting like.
Got it.
Well, it always has like almost like a little hint of like a bready, lemony quality, and then it gets more.
And then it gets like orange juice, which
Yeah.
the kids love. I'm sure you'll sell it.
yeah, it's
Just call it a hazy.
It's hazy, and it tastes like orange juice.
It does.
One
It
of
starts
my
to taste like orange
one of
juice.
my favorite beer festival moments of all time. We were pouring next to Off Color at a festival in Michigan, and they have fantastic beers. And it was just there weren't as many people lining up for that as their hazy beers. So one of their employees pulled a picture of Apex Predator and just went out and told people it was a hazy IPA, and people loved it
It's amazing.
because it's got a little cloudy,
I would like to talk about Off Color for a second because, I'm a little fed up with the trend chasing, right? And I just feel like, I've heard from
Can
so
you talk
many
about
brewers.
that a little bit? Like, what do
Yeah.
you mean by trend chasing?
Okay, so I've heard so many brewers say this exact sentence to me. Oh, I don't like those hazy beers either, but I got to pay the bills. And that to me is the most unpassionate thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like, really? That's why you got in a brewery. That's why you quit your IT job to go sweat in a brewery so that you could, I just got to make this beer I hate to keep the doors open. Like, that to me is not what craft beer was.
Sure.
It's certainly not why I got into it. Certainly not anything that's ever, it's not the basis of what we're doing. So, Off Color has never done that. And I personally, I don't drink a lot of Off Color. I pour a lot of it. We pour a lot of it at my bars. A lot of them aren't my cup of tea, because I drink a lot of lager.
Hazy. Oh,
And
Lagers only.
they make a couple of incredible lagers too. But I don't drink a lot of beers. A lot of their beers are sour and whatnot. But I really, I'm proud of them for sticking to their guns and saying, this is what we set out to do. This is what we're doing, and we're not changing just to please a fad, And I think when the dust settles, and there's going to be a dust up, and maybe we're in it.
Did
What?
you say something?
Wait.
Say my name?
Dust up. Dusts up is
Has
in like
nothing
the
to
market.
do with zombie dust, kids.
Like a bear-
Everything,
it's a-
everything has something to do with zombie.
It's a bull market. What he's saying is it's a bull market.
Look out
Dust
for those
is up.
cans, baby.
But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's people like them that are going to still be here.
I
Yeah.
completely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, we've been talking about it here. How it,
Well,
it
that's
does
no
seem
fun,
to me.
Mike.
Agree in total.
It is something that has been coming up, and I've certainly been saying a bunch here on the show. Is it does seem like people are, like you said, trend chasing. To me, it almost seems like reactionary and
What?
and fearful, lacking in confidence in what you like, and confidence
Right.
in the fact that you can convince people that this is really great beer that you should drink.
Right. And by the way, there's people making hazy beer who really like hazy beer who
Yeah.
are very passionate about hazy beer.
Totally.
And I don't,
100%.
I'm not saying that everyone
That's a good point.
is doing this, but there's breweries who have never made these things suddenly jumping on board, a year late, just trying to sell some beer. And, and everyone says the same thing. Well, they got to make some money. I guess, but if what they were doing beforehand wasn't making them money and isn't making them money now, and we have too many breweries, maybe it's time,
Ooh, harsh.
Yeah. Well,
as
a brewery who was very late to that trend, it was never for us. It was never because we didn't like those beers. Admittedly, I don't drink as much of them as lager or something that is you can drink a lot more of, but it was because we didn't know how to make them well. So instead of rushing something to market like that, we sought out a lot of other breweries to work with to figure out how to actually do it.
I'm not talking in any absolutes at all.
No, and I didn't think you were. But I think there's other reasons for people to be late to that market and still and then embrace it once you figure out how you can make something that fits into the ethos of what your brewery is and not just trend chase. But I do think it's a lot of what's driving that is lack of point of view in these breweries, where every brewery used to have a point of view or else it wouldn't have existed at all.
Yeah.
And now there's like a starter pack where my point of view is that I like really sweet stouts and I like really hazy IPAs and
if you really stretch me, I also like overly fruited sours.
sure, right.
I mean,
But deep down, we all love pilsners.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Everyone has to admit that really their favorite style is pilsner at some point. So.
The whole world is.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for 10 years.
Right.
All these bars that had 15 IPAs on tap. I mean, I pour IPAs and I like IPAs. I usually have more than one on tap. But in my top 3 selling beers every single month at both of my bars, there is a Pilsner.
Yeah.
And that is because people like to drink it.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Well,
you want to keep the doors open? Pour a Pilsner.
I also think it is the most. If we're talking about a platonic ideal of beer, Pilsner has to be like the most platonic idea of beer, because you don't describe Pilsner in terms other than what beer is typically.
Yeah.
Whereas if you start talking about IPA, you start talking about other fruits or other types of flavors that the hops are bringing to it that aren't specific to beer. But when you talk about Pilsner, you're talking about the flavor of malt, and you're talking about the flavor of like specific hops,
Very
and you're talking about
classic
fermentation style flavors. So it is like
Well, it's a beer made to drink,
Yeah.
and it's not made for an Instagram post, except those people at the slow pour place, they figured out how to make it into an
Genius.
Instagram.
Well,
But congrats.
I'm figured out I'm a huge hypocrite because I was very against the boss pour thing. I think that was silly, or Iceman pours, as Chris likes to pour. But I do love the slow pour thing.
The boss pour is not my thing.
I really
but
do
Iceman,
love that
I
head
do.
hanging out for a long time. I also will defend that I think it is a way to enhance a beer drinking experience.
Oh, yeah,
whereas
yeah.
Iceman
I'm down
or
with
boss
that.
pours are not. They're just for the gram.
Yeah. No, I think it's good. I totally agree that it's a good way to get nice head stability and get maybe some carbonation out of the beer, make it a little bit more drinkable. Where boss pour, I mean, I
Iceman
would
pour.
say Iceman pours are a little more drinkable than boss pours for me personally.
I would have to agree.
But
What on earth is an Iceman pour? Is this another inside joke?
It's like a boss pour.
it's very similar to a boss
It's
pour.
where you see you can see a meniscus of liquid.
Have you ever seen them where it's a
No
hazy
head
beer?
at all.
yeah.
And
That's
it's-
I thought that was the boss.
Peeking
No
out of your
head,
Teku
yeah.
glass.
Yeah.
It's also an Iceman pour, but I think Iceman pour has like a little bit more meniscus on it.
Not quite. It's
Meniscus.
close, but it's
What's the
it's-
difference?
Well,
Didn't you and Eric?
I don't want to
figure
get
this
into
out?
it. Yeah, we've already.
It's
It's been
proprietary
covered.
information.
It's been covered.
Come to the beer. No calls to action. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah. But Anyway, totally lost track of what I was saying there. But hey, you know who's been killing lagers, like classic lagers lately, is Three Floyds.
Yeah, we did that
just-
Einhorn last week.
Was that the Schwarz beer?
Yep, that was the Schwarz beer. Very good.
Very good. And
Yep.
Region X, the
Yeah.
Dortmunder, was awesome too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But they've always done lagers, maybe not quite as well
Yeah.
as they're doing them now.
They're doing really
But,
well now.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a state-of-the-art brewery now. I mean, but they were doing lagers back in the 90s, you
Yeah.
know, that maybe weren't so good because, you know, they were an ale brewery. But, yeah, I agree. They're coming out really well.
Long story short,
Yeah.
you agree. Yes. True.
Theme on this show.
Let's-
Are we done yet?
Yeah, I think it's time to take a break. Let's go 60, 90 seconds, listen to some other shows here on Lumpen Radio. Then we'll come back with more of the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. Welcome back to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. We're enjoying some, as Pat called it, reggaeton, which is a little known
Subgenre.
and also a transformer.
Yeah, right.
Reggaeton.
Thought it
But
was a GoBot.
yeah, he might have been a GoBot. I'm trying to
He was
remember,
definitely a
I'm trying to remember what he,
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what he transformed into, though. I think a pipe, maybe.
Oh boy. Smoke machine.
Yeah, smoke machine. So yeah, we're here talking. Pat Berger and Mike Schallau and I and producer Serge, of course. And yeah, some things happened. So here's something that just is kind of quick. I thought might be just easy to start with is so ZX Ventures, who is the what is it, like the venture arm of AB InBev?
For disruption and
Yeah.
general.
Not your father's.
Dishonesty.
Yeah. So they had bought half of, or a portion, I don't know if they said it was 50% or whatever, of Rate Beer. And now they've bought the rest of it. Surprise, surprise. That's usually how that stuff goes.
Well, I'm sure it was making them so much money they had to have that other half.
I mean, Rate Beer is definitely not as relevant as it once was.
It's completely dead.
It's completely dead.
Well, not as dead as Beer Advocate, huh?
Well,
Beer Advocate is much more active than Rate Beer.
I thought it was done.
the
magazine's
magazine.
done.
Oh.
The website is still.
But the forums,
still pretty
are still active.
Oh.
And
okay.
people still rate beers on Beer Advocate at a
little
way
bit.
slower clip, but it still happens. I haven't seen a rating. Well, I don't look that often at Rate Beer anymore, but it had been like, it could be years for some beers that we make on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We don't use it anymore to get feedback.
It is weird that one of the original big ones is now completely owned by a brewery. It's so weird,
It's the
man.
Borg.
Yeah.
It really is the Borg.
It really is the Borg.
Yeah.
Good one.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, do they have to say who they acquire? Do they have to say, like,
I don't
because
know.
they're a private entity owned by a public entity or something?
I have no idea.
I mean, what if they own Untapped? I mean, would anyone know? I mean, I'm not
we
saying
all
they
know
do.
about this. I mean,
Yeah.
how do we know about
But
this?
is it because they announced it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
But after,
I-
but
I'm
like
this is the one I didn't read.
this was much this was much after the fact. After they had invested in it, then the news
Yeah.
came out.
Well, I mean, Rate Beer has always been a little opaque in what goes on there, so it's not a real surprise.
Well, we were rated the best bottle shop in Illinois, so I stand firmly behind them.
Sure.
So it only took 6 years.
And you sold how much Budweiser to get that?
Right, exactly. A lot.
Yeah,
7
well,
years worth.
The Budweiser Temple.
Yeah.
Tide houses are back, baby.
Yep.
Stadiums and the beer temple.
Yep. So, yeah, we were named best beer shop in the state, and one of the 30 best beer bars by none other than the shining example of journalism, Thrillist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. What do you think of that? Huh?
The number 17
Since
on
I
the
don't
list
deal,
shock you?
yeah, I don't deal with these Russian
It
bots,
did.
so we weren't ranked on any of that. Proud to say.
Well, I mean, Rapier was a huge part of us at the beginning. I mean, BJ and Garrett were all over Rapier when they were working at West Lakeview, and it was like we wanted to win Best New Brewery in the World on the Rapier Awards. Like we talked about it openly. Like that was something we were shooting for when we thought it was possible. Now I don't even look at those awards when they come out. There's no one knows how they actually get them. It's
So
not
you
just
didn't, you didn't know until I told you that I had won, that Beer Temple, not I, but the Beer Temple had won?
I assumed you had won. I don't know. I didn't.
So, oh, okay.
I'm a great friend.
Oh, okay.
But I just think it's
I don't even think we
his-
announced it on Facebook.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't announce anything. I think we won some things for whatever that is, like top 100 or whatever. But we actually had a conversation and chose not to announce it because we didn't want to like promote anything owned by ABI.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem relevant anymore. It's also like kind of the same list forever. Like, it's not like there's been 7,000 breweries that opened in this country in the last since we opened. There's been about 6,000 that opened, and maybe 1% of them made it on the top 100. Like maybe 2%. So it's like, how is that possible?
You're right, exactly. I mean, it's
And how is it also this? I blame Rate Beer for what you say is like people are only making IPAs and double IPAs and imperial stouts. Like they're the reason that
and
started.
Beer Advocate, yeah.
Because like no one's rating on the same scale, so a double IPA is probably going to get higher scores in aroma because it's going to have more hops in it. So then all of a sudden everyone's like looking at it and like, oh well, these beers are better, obviously, but those websites totally changed the way that breweries approached making beers. And I don't know if it's
Not
for the better. I don't know if it's for the better.
No,
yeah.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
I think we can all say that.
Yeah.
And I was late to all that. I didn't know any of that was going on. But I do remember when Chris first started coming into Patty Long's, he was like, man, you don't even have a review on Beer Advocate. And I was like, what? What's Beer Advocate?
This old chestnut.
I wasn't going to bring up your terrible review, but
Slammed it.
but I'd never
Patty
even
Long's.
No, I gave a good review.
I had never even heard of Beer Advocate
Are you
at the time, and so I never got into it. I'm glad I didn't. Now it's gone. Good riddance.
There you go.
Yeah,
What happened? It's the Yelp of beer bars. It's the Yelp of beer. All of that. Yelp needs to go away too, and I think it's close to going away. People don't trust that anymore, and they shouldn't because it's 90% BS.
Well, they're in a huge scandal now, aren't they?
Are they?
I don't know.
Well,
I don't pay attention to them. I don't read them.
They got caught, or not. It's not caught. It's not illegal, but they would let restaurants pay them to move or.
Oh, that was years ago.
Yeah.
They got sued. It went to court, and it was found to be completely legal.
Right,
But that was 5 years ago.
yeah.
Something
Something else happened recently then too, because
I
they're
don't know.
they're in trouble financially too. As far as I
Good.
understand. Yeah.
Good. They need to go away. I mean, all this stuff can be manipulated so easily through money. Any of these sites that takes money is skewed.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Now, and you don't have to answer this, Mike,
No.
or Pat, if you don't want to. But in terms
We've
of
paid them
disruption, I was talking to a rep just the other day, and he was talking about something that's kind of like disruptive and kind of is being a little bit of an annoyance to him is these like limited run, locally produced, sticker label canned Goose Island beers that are coming out. They bought like a mobile canner or a small canning line. They don't need it to be mobile. They just bought.
They bought a mobile can line for some reason.
Yeah, and they went to some of the local guys who were using mobile canning, like, hey, next time we're doing canning, can we check it out and see how you guys do it? And then they're like, okay, that's how you do it. All right, yeah, we're going to buy one. And now they're doing like kind of like small, nimble canning of stuff. I mean, it's a smart move for them.
It's a smart move. It's I mean, they are genuinely
Maybe a bit
making
dastardly.
making smaller batches, and they can afford. Not they can afford whatever they want, but then is responsible to buy printed cans for. But I think it's terrible. I really don't like it. They're doing a lot of stuff like that too, though.
Oh,
Talk about the
what,
magazine.
now? Oh, Goose Island stealing from you guys. I think you guys have stolen enough from them. They're welcome.
What
to
did
it.
we steal from Goose Island?
I don't know. You barrel age anything?
Okay.
I mean, you make an IPA?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
so they invented IPA?
No, but they
Right.
certainly did it before you.
Sure. So
Probably
anyone
when
who's
you
done
were in
something before
diapers.
means we automatically stole from them? Is that what you're playing at?
Well, now that's what you're saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
You're saying, oh, well, they're canning like we do.
No. When you make a tiki-inspired beer with an extremely similar name and similar design to someone else's tiki-inspired beer, that's stealing. That's esoteric enough where you're cribbing
you'll have
from
to give
someone
us
directly.
the details on that. Which beer is that?
There's Mars made like small umbrellas or paper umbrellas, and then like a couple, like maybe a month later, Goose Island made
Tiny umbrella.
tiny umbrellas or paper umbrellas, the tropical tiki inspired beer. It's like there is almost no way that it could not have been cribbed directly from a much smaller brewery.
Well, that could
Who
be.
knows? You never know.
Who knows?
Or
I'm not sticking up for
maybe
Goose,
it's
by the way.
changing.
They're on my last nerves, and I'm not dealing with them much anymore. But of course they're trying to get at whatever coolness the small breweries have. Did you guys see the cans that are meant to look like sticker cans, but they're actually printed labels?
By who? Sam Adams does those.
Maybe that's who it was. Yeah.
Well, that's just funny.
I mean,
That's awesome.
it's pretty.
That's like,
So meta.
hello,
It's
fellow
fellow kids.
fellow kids. Yeah,
Hey.
it's one of those.
Save me a toke.
Yeah,
That's like
exactly.
that's existentially hilarious in like a what is going on type way.
Yeah, can we officially just say that Sam Adams is big beer? I'm so I mean, there's nothing about Sam
I don't even know
Adams
if they're
that-
big beer. They're big beverage company.
Yeah.
They're
They
huge.
they make seltzer, and they make. I mean, all.
Yes, I
Cider,
heard this.
seltzer, hard tea.
I heard this sentence on your podcast last week and was like, "What?" Someone, you guys were talking about how much alcoholic seltzer they were making, and someone goes, "Well, they have to be, good to their investors or something."
Well, they're a publicly traded company.
Yeah, yes,
And
they're a publicly traded company.
Full disclosure,
What
I'm
about
one of
that?
those investors.
What about that is craft, being a publicly traded company? What about doing things to please your investors is passion or craft
Artisanal.
or artisanal? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not putting them down for that. I'm just saying you can't have both ways,
Yeah.
Like, just Sam Adams, just go ahead and be the big... I was going to say something. But go ahead and be the big brewery that you are. Just do it. Own it. For
Do
crying out loud.
consumers, do they put them in the same bin as breweries like Mars or breweries like us or breweries like do you see consumers conflating that? Do you think that it's effectively confused in the market?
No, I don't think it's effective, but they're trying,
Sure.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
I just think I'm talking to the people at Sam Adams. Like,
Well,
hey,
here's a
Sam
couple
Adams,
issues.
just own what you are.
Right.
You
They
know,
wanna
like,
be
stop trying to be cool.
They've grown
stop
up
trying to be this and that.
as we make Budweiser spills more beer than we make every year.
Yeah.
We're the little guy. That's how they kind of came up, and
But they aren't
I think they're
anymore,
still
and just
trying to
own
own
it.
that.
It was also kind of marketing from the beginning. They
Yeah.
were a contract brewery. They were making quite a bit of beer then. Like it's the mythos of that is not at all. It's not like you found
Their
some,
newest ad is-
scroll in a basement and actually
Yeah.
brewed it out of a
Their-
5-barrel brewery. Or
Their newest
something.
ad is the worst. It's like he's in, some cellar, some lagering cellar in the Czech Republic, talking to some brewmaster, as if has anything to do with Sam Adams, as if that is, at a Sam Adams brewery or how Sam Adams is made. It's not.
Like, look,
Right, well,
beer.
it's the same
Look,
thing-
me and beer in the
Yeah.
same picture.
But that's like the same thing that we're talking about with with the
Old-timey.
goose stuff. That's like beer stolen valor kind of stuff, or like what was EdMar called like cultural capital, where like putting themselves next to some very authentic Czech brewery makes them look better. Like Goose Island aligning with us makes them look better to consumers.
So I'll say two things. I want to come back
Yeah,
to
that's
some
true.
of the stuff that Goose is doing, because I have like a counterpoint to it. But with Boston Beer, I will say that they want to be seen as small and craft and different from the big guys, because that is how they, no matter how big they are, they still want to say, but we're the biggest little guy. We're the biggest.
Right.
And the other thing is, the BA, the Brewers Association, also wants them to stay craft because they're by far the biggest and they have the deepest pockets.
Right, and when you look at those numbers of market share,
maybe something you should have brought up last
the other thing I
week
was say.
when you had the guy from the BA here. You should have brought that up.
Right.
I hadn't thought about it. We can talk about that as well a little bit.
So when you see these craft beers slowing down growth numbers, it's also partially because the top got completely skimmed off for a period there where...
Yep, Lagunitas gone.
Yeah.
Ballast Point gone.
Yeah. So
Firestone Walker gone.
They can't.
Boulevard gone.
If
Firestone and Boulevard are still.
They're still
in there.
technically.
Oh, they are, aren't they?
Technically
That's
craft.
true. You're right. You are right.
But yeah, if they lose more of those, like the numbers they've tried out to say we're growing are
But all of those guys put together probably don't equal Sam Adams.
Lagunitas. You know?
Well,
Lagunitas now
pre-sale.
probably, yeah.
Probably
True.
not. Probably not.
The other thing is the barrelage. It used to be how much beer you make was a factor in whether you can be considered craft or not, and that just kept going up and up and up and
That's
up and
right.
up.
Yeah.
And I mean, as a result, for a while it was Boston Beer trying to make sure that they stayed under the cap. And
No,
now
it was
as
them changing the cap when they would go over it.
right, exactly,
It's like, it wasn't
exactly.
trying to stay under the cap.
Right, yes, exactly. That's more accurately put. The other thing is, as a result of that, Pennsylvania makes more craft beer. I was told than any other
Yingling.
Yeah, and there's because the Yingling, and I was like, oh,
Pennsylvania,
because I was like,
Florida.
really? There's not that many big ones in PA. There's Victory, I guess, but like no Yingling. I was like, oh, right, yeah. The craft brewery Yingling.
It fits the definition.
Which is funny, and people at Yingling are like, whatever, we don't care. Okay, I guess so. Fine.
Yeah.
And they've never cared. When they weren't included, they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
When they are included, they're like, whatever.
Which at this point, like, imagine if Boston Beer had to directly compete with them on all facets, where they're not trying to brand themselves as a craft brewery, and imagine if Boston Beer wasn't allowed to. Who's going to win that one?
Right.
The more authentic brand, which is actually Yingling now.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
They are exactly who they are. They don't pretend to be anything else.
Yeah, it's true.
So maybe that does make them craft.
Family owned as well.
Yeah.
I will say before I forget, with Goose Island, there is at least, I'm not saying it's the only thing that they are doing that I think is pretty cool, and they're using kind of some of those deep pockets to do some pretty neat stuff. Is they're working with like the beer historian Ron Pattinson to recreate some historic beers and really just going as deep as possible and talking to like malt scientists and beer and trying to recreate these things, which is, I think, pretty cool.
They're doing very cool stuff, and I have to say, like, the people I interact with on a person-to-person basis are great.
Have always been cool.
I just think when you look at the insidious nature of what they're propping up is where it becomes like a...
And that's the weird thing, is like when a person you like comes by, if they say, hey, can we stop by and look at your mobile canning line next time you're doing it?
Yeah.
I mean, you can surmise kind of what their idea is. You can also, justify it by saying like, well, if we say no, it's going to be awkward, and they're just going to go to somebody else and eventually find them anyway. But at the same time, there's going to come a point where I think you're going to have to say to someone you like, sorry, man, we can't really associate with you at all.
I guess by saying this, it's probably, but we don't tout it, but we don't do events with them for the most part. Unless someone at our brewery really, really wants to do that event specifically, we avoid doing events where we'll be put next to them. It probably would benefit us to be there. They're attracting a lot of people, but it just doesn't feel right. And it doesn't seem like the thing that we should be doing if we believe in the things that we believe in. So.
Well, I will say with this Ron Pattinson thing, the most recent one they did was a historic porter that they recreated from like the mid 19th century, and they asked me if I wanted to do a little event with them where I interviewed Ron Pattinson and Mike Siegel.
It's pretty cool.
And I said, yes, I will go and I will interview you about this beer, because I think it's a cool project and I want them to keep doing it. It's certainly not. I don't know how many hearts and minds are being won by this sort of thing, but it is kind of a slippery slope.
Yeah, and
I want them to do more of that stuff in a way.
Sure, and you can't ascribe bad actions this, but they're winning by winning you over. They're winning more people over too, because you get your platform into.
I think it just
we're
went up to
literally
7
on a show called the Insiders Roundtable, where people who are tuned into what like small craft beer breweries are doing are now going to be exposed to that as well. And I think that's part of the marketing plan. I don't know if it's the driving decision behind working with Ron Pattinson, or like I think that's more just to make
Mike
interesting
Siegel's
beers.
a geek, and he wants to.
Yeah, it's a cool thing to do. It's
Yeah.
like, if we could do that, we would do that, but just don't have the resources.
Right.
So I'm glad they're using them in an interesting way, but
tough.
all of it seems like it's there's something behind the veil too, where you're like you know more than I do about a lot of this ABI, so I don't know why you want to spend any time with us. So
Yeah.
I don't trust.
I always assumed it was just like a fleck of dust that they are keeping their head brewer happy to be able to do something that it's a genuine passion project for him.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's cool. So another thing I wanted to say is, so you were saying, Pat, that you actually listened to a show.
I
You
did.
listened to last week's episode when Paul Gatz was on. You said I went easy on him. Is there anything that you would have liked to have heard, or that you thought was, I don't know, didn't pass the sniff test for you?
Well, I will say no one, brought up the fact that there's too many breweries.
I didn't bring that up. I thought I did.
I didn't
Maybe.
hear
No.
it.
Okay.
So like everyone kept talking about, the challenges of craft breweries, and seemed to avoid the fact that there's just far too many of them.
Well, define too many of them, right?
More than enough to find too many.
Oh, in
You
your
want me to
mind.
put a number on it?
No,
What's the
There's
def-
too many.
What's the definition of is?
Yeah. But how do you why do you feel there's too many? I guess is maybe what I mean.
Because
There's a dancing guy.
so many of them have to chase the trends of the other ones. That's one reason. Another reason is I can't keep track of them all, and that's part of my job. There's only so many drinkers, only so much shelf space.
That's the big one. The barrel growth per brewery. I think we talked about this a little bit last week. Versus the number of breweries, and as the number of breweries go up, the barrel growth per brewery goes down in an almost exact proportion, because there is very, very slow growth, and we're adding.
I think there's
500 to 1,000 breweries a year.
There's negative growth, I think, in beer consumption.
In overall beer consumption.
Overall
Yeah.
beer
Sure.
consumption, and craft beer consumption is in the single digits.
Yeah, 4%.
4%. That's
And of
growth,
that 4%,
but,
42% of the growth of that 4% is coming from
tap rooms. Yeah, and I might be a little biased, but I think
You're a jealous.
the reason I am a
tavern
jealous
owner.
tavern owner, the reason that laws are getting changed here in Springfield, Illinois, to allow tap rooms to do more things is out of necessity to keep this many breweries open. And I've heard it from many, many brewers. When I complain about it, they say, well, if I don't have my tap room, I close. Well, I don't want anyone to close, but there's too many of you, and now you want to steal bar customers to prop up this brewing growth that is unsustainable. And that's how, it's kind of how I see it.
I see it as time for me to mention that you're listening to WLPN LP Chicago 105.5 FM, Lumpen Radio Bridgeport. I'll say it's kind of hard. I mean, who's to say if the tap rooms are doing good business, then customers must resonate with them somewhere. I think.
Yeah, look, I have no problem with tap rooms. I have no problem with people selling their beer in a tap room setting. I have a problem with them changing the goalposts, moving the goalposts around, changing the laws, and going, well, quite honestly, it sounds like tap rooms aren't doing well enough on their own if they need this help from Springfield to boost their sales. That's what I'm hearing from these law changes. If tap rooms were outdoing bars and outdoing the service and outdoing the resources and all the rest, why are they changing the laws? Why do they suddenly need to sell cider? Why do they need to sell wine? Why do they need, to sell other people's beer? Well, it's why do they need to turn into a bar? Because people like bars.
Well, that is what the BA
I do.
is pushing is pushing for brewers to be politically active and go to the State House and expand their rights. Primarily,
they
for,
are that the BA is all
tap
over
room.
that,
and
yes.
that's the big thing. In fact, they
because
have this
they
award.
know that this growth in breweries will not continue if they cannot cut out the two middlemen. If they can't sell their beer directly to the public, this craft beer thing is going to start to go down.
Right. So make the sell less beer more profitably is what they are saying is kind of the model to do. They do have an award they give out every year, a national award for it's called like the Defense of the Industry Award. I think the FX Matt Defense of the Industry Award, and it was given to I don't know her last name, Danielle from the Guild, the director of the Illinois Craft. D'Alessandro. She got it, and she is she's a lobbyist. And the year before that, it was a different lobbyist for the Georgia, I believe, Craft Brewers Guild. So that shows you something, I think, where they want stuff to do. And they also were saying, Paul Gatza, I mentioned it last week. He did say, make friends. And he said, I did also say make friends. He said make friends with, the restaurant and tavern owners so they don't see you as a faceless competitor when you go to the State House. And now he didn't say what I would have liked him to say is make strategic partnerships that are kind of lifting all boats.
No, I know.
He said make friends, and there's I think a difference.
No, it's underhanded, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Pull the wool over their eyes so that when you go to the State House, they don't make a stink.
That's kind of how I listened to it. I was in a bit of a
What do you say,
I think
Mike?
brewers are getting a little beat up here, but I also think it's an organizational problem. Bar owners aren't as collegial as brewers are, and so when you go to the State House, you guys aren't as effective.
Well, that's true. We all hate each other. You'll
and this
get
was
there.
talked
Don't
about.
worry. You'll get
This
there.
was talked about.
But this was talked about. And the other thing is, that is true.
Yeah.
I will give you that. Although we do have a lobbying group, but I will say,
but your lobbying group is working with the brewers' lobbying group to get a lot of this done.
not really.
Okay.
No, that's not true at all. Not according to the Illinois Restaurant Association.
Okay.
That when I talked to them, and in fact, now they are actively working against you because of a lot of phone calls, including my own.
Sure.
But what I will say is, I lost my point.
But
No, we were talking about how they're more collegial.
Yes.
I think
State houses like breweries because breweries have the reputation of, and deservedly so, of transforming dilapidated neighborhoods.
Right.
And that happens a lot. A brewery goes into a dilapidated neighborhood and turns it around. Bars, while that does happen with bars, that is not what bars are known for. Bars have a terrible reputation in neighborhood. As far as how they can degrade a neighborhood and turn a neighborhood, dilapidate a neighborhood. Whether that's true or not, it is nothing in politics is truth doesn't matter, right? It's all image and all what a politician can get behind. They can get behind a brewery. They can go into a brewery and drink a beer on camera, and everyone loves it. Bars don't have that, and I don't think we're going to get it anytime soon. I don't want to be the poster boy for this topic, but we all know what's going on, so we all just have to react to it. I mean, you're going to hear me yell and scream every time you guys try to change your laws. I'm sorry.
as you should, and we should push to change the laws more in our favor,
I agree.
but not forget our relationship with the publicans and with the bottle shops. I think if you do one without the other, you're an irresponsible business owner.
Well, that's all you've done so far.
Don't say you like it. It's me
right.
personally.
Brewers.
We actually go out of our way to try to work with people.
But what law have you changed that was like?
I haven't
for
changed
for
any
all of
laws.
us?
I'm not the spokesperson for the guild.
No, all right. Well, he was here last week. I should have come in,
yeah, but
but I was drinking unfiltered Pilsner Kel.
right, which is I think you made a good decision. Here's a question I have. What do you guys think? So what could happen, or do you think this could be an issue where if the taproom growth continues, and that is where the growth happens, regional breweries grew 0% in 2018. 0% for the bigger guys. So what happens when now what's happening is, the regional breweries rely on bars, restaurants, and retail off-premise shops to sell their beer. They're too big for a tap room to keep the lights on alone, unless they start doing a very aggressive, we are doing the maximum number of tap rooms per state in every state we're in, which they may also do that as well.
I think Ballast Point tried it.
Yeah. But what happens if now these tap rooms are eating their lunch and it's made doubly difficult by, if restaurants start to go under or are having a hard time or start moving away from beer because they feel like they are getting kind of the short end of the stick, right or wrong, they feel that they are, and say, you know what, wine and spirits are up anyway. I'm going to start doing, just pushing some of that stuff towards wine and spirits. So now it's almost like it's getting compounded by the fact that these tap rooms are doing well. It's hurting the bigger guys potentially because wholesale is terrible. I was talking to a brewer up in Wisconsin, and I said, how you guys doing? He says, we're doing well. Tap room is killing it. Wholesale is terrible. And, they started out as a wholesale model, and they're kind of shifting now because that's how they can make their money.
Yeah. I think there's a few in Chicago doing that.
So what then happens to these regional brewers when they're at odds with other members of their own guild? What do? Do you try to help the big guys, or do you help the long tail that's actually growing? And, some of these big guys are hurting.
I get out the popcorn.
Right.
See what's going on. But no, that is happening. I think that's already happened. All that is going on. I don't have an answer. I think the big guys can't necessarily go against these taproom laws because they all have tap rooms too. And some of them have even been active in changing taproom laws to allow them to have tap rooms, like Goose Island. So, I don't know. But it's all happening. It's all changing very quickly, and it's craft beer is kind of a snake eating its own tail right now.
I mean, it's interesting because when you have a taproom law that changes, if a bigger brewery helps kind of push this law through, they may find themselves now with 100 new bar competitors where they can't get their beer in.
Right.
Those tap rooms that are popular won't take your beer. Only the bars and restaurants.
And even from the other side, breweries that only exist because of their tap room, like that's not a healthy business model either. I can't.
No, those should really be brew pubs.
Yeah, well, they are effectively brew pubs,
but they aren't licensed that way, and that's an issue because
they can still self-distribute.
They can self-distribute. They can be in unzoned areas that are not zoned for bars and restaurants.
Wait, what area can manufacturing districts? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, PMDs. Yeah, absolutely.
Would you want to be in a manufacturing district as a bar and restaurant?
I can tell you 3 walking distance from Kaiser that are in PMD that are tap rooms.
And you would prefer
including
to be
Goose Island.
You would prefer to be in a manufacturing district as a bar.
As a bar.
You would prefer to be in an area without competition. And I can't go in and create competition against these people. I can't open a bar.
But on the other side, a lot of breweries do get zoning change to put their tap rooms into places too. And you could also go and try to get the zoning change if you really want to be in that space.
Well,
I think a
zoning
manufacturing
changes are few and far between, and very, very difficult. At least in Chicago.
I agree, they are very difficult, but it's been done. And I think that's
been done.
Yeah, so it's not like breweries just have all these advantages of being able to go into places that you can't go.
Well, they do.
They do have that advantage, but it's not like also there are a lot of places that you can go that breweries can't go. We can't go into commercial spaces unless we get zoning changed to specific zoning. We can't go into a lot of places that bars can go.
Right, and maybe what he's saying is,
and
as you're going
down, those are
work.
Typically the more densely populated areas.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I'm just saying
a brewery
that is really just a tap room, that really is essentially a brew pub.
Yeah.
Should be in area zoned to be a brew pub. I mean, just because that's how
But
zoning laws are supposed to work. Like if I owned a concrete factory next to this hopping tap room that suddenly is packed all the time and there's cars everywhere and it's disrupting my business, well, what good is my zoning? Or vice versa. If yes, you can't open up in a residential area because same thing, people living next to you don't want a production facility next to them. So I mean, this is why we have zoning laws. So I'm just seeing it as like
I'm not disagreeing about zoning laws. I'm disagreeing about the advantage of the zoning laws to breweries.
I just think it goes against zoning laws. And if you are
goes against zoning? That breweries can exist in manufacturing districts
tap rooms
that are actually
tap rooms
that you're calling
in
brew
manufacturing
pubs.
districts.
Brew pubs can exist in manufacturing districts as well.
I have a question. This is
no, because they need an Illinois liquor license.
You can
I'm sorry, a Chicago liquor license.
You can get a Chicago liquor license in a manufacturing zone. Absolutely. I know someone who has one. He's sitting in this room.
Chris Quinn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mine's zone M. I have an M, but I don't know if I'm a PMD or whatever the EPMD.
I mean, I'm not a zoning expert, but did you have to change your zoning, or are you legally allowed to have a retail liquor license there?
We can have a retail liquor license in whatever type of M I am. There's M1, there's M2, there's M3.
Different
I don't know.
manufacturing zone.
Right.
There's industrial. There's different stuff. But
your argument.
I can
that
tell
argument
you.
doesn't
I
make
can tell you
sense.
where Goose Island is. You cannot have a beer temple where Goose Island is.
I don't know what that is zoned as.
It's PMD.
I don't know what PMD even is.
EPMD.
It's a weird one. But it's
What is PMD? What does it stand for?
It stands for production
Manufacturing
district. Production manufacturing. So you have to produce something.
I made that up. I guessed.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I will
But
say
that's restrictive in a way.
That's the one they're trying to change for the Yards project.
Sure.
That's all PMD.
Right.
They can't do their thing without the zoning change. That's why all of this is before the board right now.
before the board.
Although for the
Borg.
The Borg.
Before
the Chicago City Council.
I think we should listen to some
that's
reggaeton in a moment. Go on.
That's equally restrictive in an area where people don't live, that it's harder to get to, as being in a commercial zone would be for breweries. It would be so much more beneficial for a production brewery to be in a commercial area, a place zoned commercial, because there's so many more customers close to that area.
Well,
But to be in a normal commercial zone is not. You have to be
There's a few things.
C-1-3.
yes
I
and no.
do think that
You think it wouldn't be beneficial to a brewery to be closer to consumers?
if they have a tap room for sure.
Yeah.
But if it's a heavy manufacturing thing and you got to get if you need a dock and stuff like that, it might be a pain in the butt.
Sure.
I will say I do think that it does help them for zoning changes and stuff, that they are a cool tap room and a brewery and stuff like that, versus I want to change the zoning and put a bar in. That is like you might as well say I want to put a strip club in, because it's right there with in people's minds.
We tried to change the zoning at Patty Long's. Patty Long's is non-conforming with its zoning. Patty Long's has been a bar since
Grandfathered in
1937, before there was zoning laws. So we wanted to expand there, and it was a disaster.
Yeah.
Disaster.
I will also say, last night I was having this conversation in front of a production brewery tap room, which at first was a brewery and then opened a tap room, and there are residential across the street, and we were just not knowing that this topic was going to come up at all. We're like, I wonder how these people felt about a normal production facility being across the street, then becoming a bar with people spilling out of it at night while these people are sleeping across the street. And the person was like, yeah, they're not the most happy about it, but the people a block away love it because now they have a bar down the street.
Right.
So it is. It's weird times, man. It's weird.
It is.
Let's listen to the music. My personal favorite GoBot was Reggaetron, and we're gonna listen to some of that, or maybe something else. DJ Surge is here. I don't even know if you plug it directly from your laptop, if you'll still just hear the whatever's going on in Studio A. It'll just get into the wires. But we're gonna listen to that for a bit, and then we'll come back with more of the Beer Temple Insider Roundtable.
That's right, everybody. You're back here live on the Insiders Roundtable. Coming at you from Bridgeport, the community of the future in Chicago, and on a podcast near you. I'd like to introduce the host and the ringleader for this show, Christopher Quinn.
Thanks, Ruben. How you doing? Oh, and he's gone. Okay. Yeah, we haven't had... that's another one to kind of mark down.
Disappeared right into that phone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, anyway...
What are you guys talking about here on the show today?
We're talking about...
Talking about wine coolers.
Yep, wine coolers.
Wine coolers are making a big comeback.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the wine?
I'm opening my wine cooler tap room, actually.
What is that low-cal beverage?
It's in a residential district, but I got the zoning change because wine coolers are hot right now.
You get a wine
We're
cooler.
Call it Smartles and Hanes.
Yeah.
A wine cooler.
Steals that.
Bub Lemperemperity?
What are you saying?
What is a wine cooler fermentation system or brewery called?
Vodka in seltzer water.
Oh, so it's a distillery.
Probably.
Not a bubbler.
It's a flavored malt beverage, I'm imagining.
Yeah, flavored malt.
Zima-like?
Probably Zima-like, yes.
I think they come in all shapes.
So a couple of things we could talk about briefly. So Weyerbacher filed for Chapter 11. So that kind of, from being a PA guy, that kind of sucked to see.
What are the reasons for that? Do you know, Mr. Ginseng?
So this is what Dan Pichet said. He's a friend of the show. He's a
finance wizard.
He's a finance wizard.
He's
and
also
and specializes in manufacturing.
Yeah, in the recent issue of Mass-Gen Journal, he calls for the collapse, the coming apocalypse.
Does he?
Yeah. So this is a sign.
Well, he calls for a recession.
Yeah.
This is what he told me.
Same thing.
I have a little quote from
Fire
him.
apocalypse.
Not even a full depression.
His opinion was, quote, from an underwriting perspective, brewery expansion loans that were predicated on growth will be a continued source of strain on the industry.
Well, he said that in that episode when you had all finance people on, right?
Yeah.
And that seems to be exactly what this Weyerbacher thing is. And they didn't even have that much debt compared to a lot of other breweries. And they weren't that crazy. It was 11,000 barrels. They were in 23 states. I mean, this one is scarier than any of the other collapse, because the other ones were clearly people trying to get really, really big. At least the ones we heard about.
The green
and then
flash
this is
just epically imploding.
Right. But this is also a thing where you look at a brewery that it seems like it didn't evolve, because part of what they're saying is that we miscalculated the market saturation on pumpkin beer. And if you're going to try to expand at double digits a year and you're going to lean on a seasonal beer that, it's a pumpkin beer, that's a little
that might have been
crazy.
A bit of an excuse. I think what happens is when growth slows down, you're almost on stilts now. And one of those stilt legs is your pumpkin beer, and another one is your whatever beer. And if one of those legs comes out, you don't have a solid foundation anymore because the overall growth isn't there. And then something as trifling, seemingly, as pumpkin beer not being as big can take you down.
It's also a completely different... It seems to be structurally a completely different type of brewery than what has come to exist in the last... Well, not 23 years, obviously, but the last, probably, let's say, 7, 8 years, 9 years, where they were about core brands and they were about projecting out seasonality growth. And it just... That brewery, of that size, trying to be 23 states, doing that is... Being in 23 states is you have to tend to a lot. Those are completely different markets. The beer market isn't just the beer
only
market.
11,000 barrels, 23 states and 11,000.
That's a lot.
That's a model that is 7 or 6 years old.
Probably even more, but it just doesn't exist anymore in the same way. I don't think. I mean, maybe 10
pull.
states, but it has to be sprinkled in. You have to really still own your home market, and you have to be doing new stuff all the time. It seems that they did not evolve with that, and you can't blame them. Why would they suddenly change how they're? I guess you should change if it's not being successful. But I mean, it's an interesting legacy.
Really sound
brand
like a lot, though. I mean, 10,000 barrels in 23 states doesn't seem like a large volume of beer to push around to half the country.
Sure, but it must not have been pulling through anywhere then, I guess. Yeah. But it also they weren't crazy. It weren't crazy amounts of debt. It's not like they were hundreds of millions. It was $2 million expansion or something that caused them to have to file bankruptcy. And
That's intense.
yeah, which is it's crazy. Those are like terms that all these other things are in terms that most of the breweries that of people who come on this podcast don't know about.
Yeah.
Like we don't know what any of that stuff looks like. We don't know what $100 million or like $1 billion looks like. That's monopoly money. But when you talk about like a $2 million expansion, 11,000 barrels of beer, that's a much more real thing to happen to someone.
How much of that $2 million went towards extra capacity? Do we know? Like how many
I don't know.
thousands of barrels?
It says that they have 30. I think it said they have 30,000 barrels of capacity,
I see. All right.
which still isn't that crazy large of a brewery,
No.
considering they're 24 years old
Yeah.
or 23 years
You know,
old. I don't remember.
What
Yeah,
they should have
something
done
like
is
that,
maybe converted one of the brewing facilities into a kind of reggae,
Seltzer
dance
tank.
hall, hip hop facility for deep bass hip hop.
Yeah,
That's
they
right.
missed the Reggaetron.
It's
fad.
Reggaetron.
What is the zoning
right?
for a
Reggaetron?
reggaetron?
Reggaetron beer, Reggaetron concerts could have helped him out.
In all seriousness, this music is
They could
making
be as
my
popular
tinnitus
as the
act.
co-prosperity sphere.
Yeah, I mean, co-prosperity beer.
They
Oh
could
wow!
Yeah, coming soon.
Wait, does anyone make
raking
that?
in the money like the
gonna happen.
sphere does.
Who's making it?
Who do you think?
Weyerbacher?
Hopefully, we'll contract there. So bankruptcy doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to fold, though. They're just going to
No.
like liquidate
Well, someone
their
bought them in
debts.
the restructuring, so that part of the bankruptcy is part of the buyout.
What,
Another
VC
craft
firm?
brewer, I believe, bought them.
No, I think a private equity firm bought them.
Oh,
Yeah, I think.
And it's like some people in the private equity firm. So like 5 people in the private equity firm. It's like their project now. But they're going to be contract brewing for other people. I think it's part of their business model now.
Yeah.
you might find this hard to believe, but I didn't read the article.
Oh.
But you know a lot about what's going on.
Not anymore.
Yeah. I mean, you heard it all right now. You understand what's
Yeah,
happening.
I got it now. Okay.
Yeah.
So, in somewhat related news, just financial news, how about Modern Times kind of going for the not fair to, it's not exactly the same as, but the the equity for punks model where they're trying to raise up to $1 million.
That's it?
No,
Just $1 million.
Just $1 million, but off their valuation of being $265 million or something like that. And they base that
Wait a
multiple
second,
on the same.
what?
They base that multiple on the same multiplier they did for Ballast Point's
Well, you
purchase
can't
for
do
like
that.
barrels. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's-
and hasn't Ballast Point already been written down a couple of times by Constellation Brands, basically admitting
Did they
that it was
really
not
value
worth that
themselves as almost a quarter billion dollars?
More than a quarter.
But they're smart because they're valuing it to schmo. I mean, just
Yeah.
like
So wait a
average
minute.
people, not Dan
I can't
Pichet.
imagine this being
They're not
like a
saying
good
What's the
PR
volume?
move.
What's the volume of beer? 26,000 barrels?
No, they're bigger than
no,
that.
they're bigger, man.
It's like 50 something, I think.
50,000. So that's like
57. Yeah.
Yeah.
so basically
they're a top 30 brewery
500K,
in the country, I think.
500,000 per 1,000 barrels made.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense.
Something like that.
Now
I don't
take
do math.
note, brewers out
I mean,
there.
I would think if they're worth that much, they could get that money from a bank.
Yeah, I would
Probably
agree with
could.
you.
I think they already have a lot of debt, if I recall. I read this one
Yes.
a while ago, actually.
So they have a lot of debt as well. They recorded a $3 million loss last year,
Yeah. I mean,
which is surprising, right?
Is it because they picked up those breweries in Portland and opened up a couple new places in LA? And
They're in
Well, they said
expansion
it
phase, I
was
guess.
it was non-operating losses attributable to large capital expenditures, as well as the employees, the ESOP that they did an ESOP.
Yeah.
So it was it required it to
I saw some commentary on the social media feeds that the double down on the ESOP with the stock offering to fans was a negative thing, and I never really got the reasoning why.
The response was negative to it? Or
It was like, no, it's not a good look if they're doing that. But I would argue that the fact that they could reach out to their fan base, which is pretty rabid from what I witnessed firsthand, and to ask them to become investors, almost is like a marketing thing, similar to the BrewDog
how
thing.
is this even
Are they
legal?
asking their fans to be investors? Or are they just asking their fans to give them money?
Like crowdsourcing.
Just to give them money.
like,
I don't remember what they got in return. I don't think it's actual equity in the company.
I mean, Mike, I don't want to put you on the spot. I know, maybe you can't say anything, but I believe Pipeworks was founded on a crowdfunding website, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
They didn't have to pay that money back, did they?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And they didn't, and that was not for equity. That's not how Kickstarter
Yeah, and
works.
none of those guys are investors, and
No,
it's
that's
just
not
free
how it
money.
works. I mean, there are tiered rewards, so technically they were purchasing T-shirts and things like that, but they were very highly priced T-shirts.
And is that what they're doing in Modern Times land, Chris? You're reading the article right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out if I can get some information on what you get for it, but I think that would be,
Yeah.
you'd have to get a disclosure form for
But
what
they
you
were-
actually get.
they were-
I doubt you're getting like
But can you
A-level.
publicly solicit people to buy your company in this way? Don't you have to like vet and like make sure that they have a certain amount of net worth to like buy
So
this
which-
type of stock?
Which may be why it's not a real stock.
Yeah.
The Brewdog thing was not a real stock,
Right.
Right.
And I thought
Yeah.
that was really fraudulent the way they kind of presented that on their
this-
Facebook video. Like, hey, become an investor in our company. But, you know, investor literally means that you invest in it and receive equity
Right.
and checks, dividends even.
Those guys are
And
shady.
None of
Yeah.
those, none of that happened, right?
No.
Yeah.
I this feels the same way to me. This seems like a PR move and a way to make some quick
Yeah.
cash that is not for that long-term connection with your fans.
But
and
they-
everything.
By the way, Kaiser Tiger
you
would
opening
like
up
to start a Kickstarter. Yeah, we have
Yeah,
a
a
Kickstarter. We need $1 million.
Be a baby tiger. I can
We're-
become a
yes,
baby tiger.
We want to buy a tiger,
Yeah.
like Scarface,
Yeah.
in the beer garden, and we
Curling.
like all of your
And a
money.
pile of
If
cocaine,
curling
like
isn't
it.
unsafe enough, we'll
Did you
in
say
return,
with
everyone
a pile
who
of
gives
cocaine, you have to buy. We have to purchase the cocaine as well.
And
Well,
assault weapons.
Everyone who
And
gives
assault
me
weapons.
$500 gets to pet the tiger. Now you have to sign a waiver, and
So
anything
we get
the tiger
photos,
does
though.
to you
Can we Instagram a photo
Oh,
of
for
ourselves with
That's
the
a
tiger?
thousand.
The Instagram,
for sure.
the tiger will love the gram.
Yeah.
Tiger's
here's
stunt for
the
grams
thing
every
that's
day.
weird about this, because Modern Times has a pretty robust kind of society membership club where you pay a couple $100, $300-500, and there's thousands of people within this kind of group that gets those limited edition bottles. So this is different than that. I think it's really interesting because they're trying to move really fast. They're swimming upstream in this kind of like
I think they
these
were,
kind of dark ages for the craft beer.
I think they climbed higher than anyone else on the top 50 this
On the
year.
West
for
Coast.
craft
Them or
breweries.
it would be them
or
Rheingeist.
Rheingeist. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Unane, named top 50 growing brewery in Illinois.
Top 50
In
growing
Illinois.
brewery in
Fastest-
Illinois. That's actually quite a
Fastest
few
growth.
breweries.
Fastest growth.
Yeah, of course.
But when you,
Well, he's just.
don't
I
know,
think that's mostly because Jerry's just so vocal about everything. He won't shut up.
I mean, that kind of attitude.
Jerry never says anything.
What are you talking about? His big mouth. He's a big mouth.
Oh,
He's
maybe I got the wrong
constantly-
Jerry then.
Constantly Instagramming.
That was
He's
an
constantly.
Little gullible there.
He's constantly tweeting.
Jerry comes to Kaiser Tiger. I'm like, hey, Jerry, how you doing? Good.
Anything to say? No,
I really like that
that's
beer you made. Thanks.
Well, it's classic Jerry. Like, final thoughts, Jerry?
No.
No.
I love that
I got
guy.
nothing.
Well, it's that.
You came on a radio show.
It's that persona, and directly linked to each appearance
I love that
on
guy.
the Insiders Roundtable, added a considerate volume of sales every time he appears on this show.
Yeah, he's making like 100,000 barrels now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Something
something
like
like
that.
that. Yeah.
If we're
I think
talking
so.
about Lego barrels,
10 barrels at a time. Lego barrels.
yeah.
Those
That's how- now
candy
I
root
put my
beer
taxes.
barrels.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you guys, since we're just kind of poking fun at this Modern Times like crowdsourcing or stock thing, what do you really think about it, Pat?
I think if in today's day and age, if you are going to invest in a brewery, perhaps it's best knowing you're not going to get that money back from the get-go.
Yeah, which you should if you invested in any company.
Because, if you're expecting dividends from any brewery you're investing in right now, I wouldn't expect much.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I'm saying don't open a brewery.
I don't know why they're trying
Yeah.
to raise a relatively
Small
small
amount.
amount. If they're valuing themselves at $264 million, you would probably have a line of credit for $1 million, I would think, where you could just go to.
I would imagine this is much more of a marketing move than it is some sort of they need $1 million.
So that's what I was getting at. I think it's kind of a marketing thing.
It's the same thing that the Brewdogs thing was. Like it,
Which to me, I guess, in some part, you're like, oh, well, savvy. That's $1 million free for you, and you're getting your name talked about, your brand talked about. At the other side of it, I was like, I don't know. Aren't there better ways, more like genuine ways to do this?
But they're in California. They're part of this whole unicorn zone, right? Of the kind of .com, market where these people are in Silicon Valley. They're just everyone's hustling, trying to, create these companies that they sell for $1 quadrillion when they go public. I mean, what craft brewery has gone public yet that we know of?
Sam Adams.
Sam Adams.
Besides Sam.
Wasn't Ballast Point going to go
Besides
public
Sam,
before
anyone
they,
else?
they tricked someone into giving $1
No, I
billion?
don't think anyone else is. No.
I mean, they got purchased before they were able to do
like
that,
Red
right?
Hook and that whole thing is like a
See,
publicly
what about
traded
Craft
company.
Brewers Alliance?
That's
but that's owned by
right,
AB.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, this could lead towards that kind of like
Maybe Marsh
vibe.
should go public.
We are public. There's a number of porta potties with our logo on it up and down
I
Morgan
think it's a
Street.
different IPO that people are talking about than what you were talking
that's
about.
the IP.
IPO.
Yeah.
That's an IP.
Oh, okay. It's different. What's the difference?
They're actually
They're subtle.
entirely
They're subtle.
completely different. They're subtle, but totally different.
But it's totality.
between what you do in a
Yeah.
porta potty and an IPO.
Well,
and
I
an IPO.
would definitely buy a porta potty with a Modern Times logo on it. Okay.
Oh, that's what the number one thing. If you give $25,000,
You get a porta
lot of
potty.
times
You get a
porta potty?
with a
Yeah.
sticker,
Yeah.
with a brewery
It's
sticker.
like those Pepsi
I mean-
challenge points where if you got like 1 billion of them, you get a jet, and they actually had to buy someone a jet.
Or I
But-
think, yeah.
But Mr. Strong, I'm going to agree with you about your. It's a marketing thing.
Yeah, it's a
because
marketing ploy.
These guys are really good at it, and I think that they probably get the value of us talking about it and everyone else talking about it everywhere in the promotional
But
aspect.
do you think
right?
this is like a positive association with it? If we're talking about it as like this is a kind of a scam and it's just a marketing ploy,
I don't
do you
know-
think
I
this
don't
is
know
a
if it's a
positive
scam.
connection for them?
I
It is a
think-
scam. You're just giving them money for nothing.
Maybe to the greater
You-
public. I mean, this is
you
the
might get a t-shirt.
insider
Might get a
roundtable,
t-shirt.
my friend.
Yeah.
The insiders know the real
deal here.
the real poop.
Yeah.
But the regular
IPO.
public are like, hey, let's give money.
They
to them.
love
I mean,
it.
it worked
Sure.
for BrewDog.
Yeah.
I have a feeling they took this right out of BrewDog's
Yeah.
thing. BrewDog's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Open a hotel soon.
Yeah, no one's making fun of BrewDog for getting a bunch of free money.
And they swooped in
Except
and took
me.
that
Making fun of
brewery
Brewdog.
from
They took
Stone.
Stone-
except all of us, except these four nerds.
They took Stone's Brewery, which is mind blowing.
And brilliant, and so savvy
Too,
for
too
them.
big,
I
too
know,
soon.
right,
We were just
yeah.
now
making-
that
Well, they're saying with Brexit,
Our
now
brewers
they're in Europe. Now they
Yeah.
have a facility in Europe
Yeah.
to brew from.
They're
They don't have to
genius.
worry about Brexit being a flop.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just like, whoop, now we're in there.
I
Pretty
got to
smart.
say that it continues to show you how smart and how whatever beyond most breweries' games are, right? With the BrewDog cats, I mean, it's insane. And you can't fault Modern Times for thinking about BrewDog doing it right in this kind of super complex, hyper messed up world. I mean, they're duplicating a certain model of having multiple tap rooms all over the place, right?
The Tied House model.
I think stealing Stone's Brewery is the first punk rock thing BrewDog's done.
There you go. Hey, what
Hey.
about that TV show?
I was on that.
But they're
Well,
lawyers.
that's a pretty
and
good
what's
show.
not punk about being
That's
a
a
lawyer?
punk.
It wasn't.
It wasn't punk. No.
don't
What's
think
not punk
so.
about private equity, though, Pat? Come on.
It's pretty good.
I might have forgotten what punk is.
Let's read a letter. So we solicit people to send us letters, electronic letters usually, to insiders@craftbeertemple.com. And you can send it. Mention anything. Mention how right on the nose Pat was about everything. Yet again.
Don't write my letter for
He was
me.
very.
Yeah. You can also. We haven't gotten a handwritten letter in a
Wrote
long
my
time.
letter
It's
for me.
3219 South
You've been writing
Morgan
that letter
Street.
every day of your life.
3219 South Morgan Street, Chicago, Illinois
60608.
And who should it be addressed to?
Chris.
Chris. Just Chris.
Mr. Quinn.
About
Mr.
Ruben.
Quinn.
How about Insiders Roundtable?
All right.
Care of
There you
Ruben
go.
Kincaid.
Send it to
There.
King Kona.
Yeah, I just sent it to King Kona.
I haven't seen King
Now that's
Kona
a guy.
in
Where
months.
the heck
Yeah.
has that guy
Yeah.
been? Are you
were trying
worried
to
for
get
him,
inside
or do you
joke.
think
Talk about
he's-
beer recession. You think he overinvested in coconuts?
No, there's no coconut recession.
I think
He's
that's
over the roof.
You know what's going on
He's
with
got
King
those
Kona?
golden coconut.
You know what's
nest
going
eggs.
on? CBDs absorb great,
Oh, God.
fantastically in coconut oil. I bet Kona has been on this kind of marijuana CBD journey
He's just a little
on his
spaced
out.
out.
hovercraft.
Is he on one of
A
those?
little,
Is he on a
little
spirit
too
walk?
relaxed.
Yeah,
He's on a
very
spirit
relaxed.
walk for the past year.
Yeah,
Whoa.
I bet you
He's going to
Kona-
come to by a
I
railroad
bet
track
you,
that doesn't
Bet
exist.
you Kona comes out with his new CBD products soon.
Whoa.
Yeah, CBD sodas.
Yeah.
Alco soda.
Oh, wow.
All right. Well, anyway,
Alco soda.
Steve did not write about any of this, but he sent in
throw it away
something
then.
too. Yeah, insiders at craftbeertemple.com. This one might be for you, Mike,
Oh, boy.
or you might be the only person who can answer this. We'll see.
Oh, boy.
Hi, maybe this is too simple for discussion, but I'll throw it out there.
Right in my
There's been
wheelhouse.
some talk about Brut IPAs, and I'm actually on board with the name. To me, possibly because I like dry champagne, the Brut IPA name makes sense to me. Makes me think I'm going to get a beer with a, quote, tangy feel of dry champagne. I'm not really sure if that's true, though. Lately, my favorite beer is Vibes Pilsner from Almanac in San Francisco. Yeah, I know it's not a Brut IPA, he says. That beer has this tangy quality. So my question is there a specific taste that Brut IPAs are going for? And secondarily, what is that tangy feel that some beers have? Is it the yeast? Is this part of the Brut IPA concept? I'm trying to figure out how to buy more of the taste I like, maybe to defend this new name. Thanks, Steve.
I mean,
Thank you, Steve.
I would guess the tanginess is actually like a really high level of carbonation. Maybe.
Yeah, it is
That's
the
that's the only analog between Brut IPA and
Champagne.
I would actually see. I haven't had a Brut
It
IPA
might
that
be
tastes anything like champagne.
It might be the acidity in the wine juice, in the grape juice.
Sure, but in the Brut IPA, it would probably it's probably
well, he's
the
saying there
dryness
isn't-
of it with the high carbonation.
Yeah,
levels.
he's saying there isn't any tang.
there isn't tang in Brut IPA. I
Right.
thought I said there was tang in Brut
Brutes,
IPAs.
Brutes are really dried out, though. Super
Right.
dry.
I think Brut IPA is actually a legitimate evolution of something where it's using a technique that wasn't used by craft brewers before to create something new.
Well, what he
which I
says
find
is-
interesting, but I don't know if it's really that.
He says he gets a tang in champagne and that he's expecting that in Brut
Tell him to
IPA,
drink
but I don't
Saison.
know if it's true. But he says I do get this tang in Vibes Pilsner from Almanac. And then second, he's also saying, is there a certain... He's saying, one, is there a certain flavor that Brut IPAs are going for? And two, what is this tangy thing?
I mean, I all Brut IPAs, I can't speak for all of them, but they're just trying to be drier, hop-driven beers. Honestly,
that
I
are
think
highly
if
carbonated.
you really like Brut IPA, just go buy a Saison, and your mind's about to get blown that this thing has been made in farmhouses for hundreds of years. Because
Yeah, it's different. Come on.
well-made Saisons are as good, well, they're all better than Brut IPA.
They
in my
are,
opinion,
yeah.
But
True.
if you're looking for that really dry thing, and that's what you like about it, a Saison is the way to go. And it also, you get those fruity flavors from yeast and everything, and you get some interesting phenolics. I don't know if everyone likes the phenolic characteristics of that, but I don't know what... See, tang is one of those words where it doesn't necessarily mean anything. So if I don't know Steve and I don't drink a lot of beer with Steve, I can't figure out what tang means then.
Yeah.
And I've never had that Pilsner, so I can't pick apart what that would share with champagne.
Yeah.
I don't think you want a Pilsner to have too much tang. I know we were talking about the Paracelsus being old and getting
Yeah, but
tang earlier.
I think I
Tangy.
used the word.
Yeah. But
maybe
I don't
the-
think we were thinking about that as something you really want to come out of a clean Pilsner.
No,
but maybe it's like a West Coast thing. They're close to Asia, Japan, the kind of dry Pilsner vibe.
Well,
Maybe
look,
they're aiming
yeah.
for that.
I mean,
don't know.
Sure.
Dry lagers?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Brut IPA really sprung up as a antithesis of the hazy IPA.
I think,
like
to me, I thought
literally
of it that way.
I mean, an article I read from the brewer who invented it, he was like, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to make something crystal clear, super dry, not sweet, not juicy,
And highly carbonated.
highly carbonated, and
Little yeasty.
and actually hoppy. Bitter, not hoppy, but bitter. Bitter. Now, I wanted to like it because, I like any middle finger to the hazy IPAs, but it's another example of something that sounded good. It was a great idea that I think is a terrible flavor, because when you dry something out and then heavily hop it, it doesn't work. Hops cause a bitter flavor, and bitterness needs malt. And when you don't have any malt and nothing but hops, to me, that's gross. And Brut IPAs, to me, are gross, and I don't think they're going to stick around like the hazy IPAs. Hazy IPAs, I get it. I mean, they taste like juice. Juice tastes good. Children love juice. But the Brut IPA, I
Ouch.
think, is coming and going. And it was a good idea that turned out to be a terrible flavor.
I agree with you, but I think what ended up happening is there were photocopies of photocopies of photocopies of what the original idea was supposed to be.
Yeah.
What people ended up doing was
weren't making them
just
correctly.
making a much drier version of their IPA recipe, and that is gross.
Yeah.
You're making a completely different thing when your finishing gravities are that low, so you have to treat it as such. You can't just like say
that's why
you can't just
Saisons-
throw another. It's like not just like throwing another level of dry hop on it like you can do for some stuff. It's like it's a different animal entirely.
When I think of brewed IPA, I think of what I've heard is highly carbonated, fairly heavily hopped, light, bone dry, with a more assertive yeast character than many IPAs. And what I think of is Taras
the thing
Bulba.
that I don't
No,
get is the yeast
there's
character.
no yeast
I don't
character.
think brewed
You
IPAs
want-
don't have the yeast character.
No.
It's saison without the yeast character.
It's light beer without adding the water.
Now Taras Bulba is maybe the best beer in the world.
You know, we used to.
I mean, it's
I'll
close
say
to a
it, I'll
brewed
say
IPA.
It's better than Zombie does. I'll say it.
Oh
What?
my
Yeah.
gosh!
All right.
I'll say it.
What day
Taras
is it?
Bulba is
Where
better
are
than
we?
Zombie
What
does.
time is
God.
it?
Someone get
Oh
the
my
other Dust
goodness.
Brother on the
Nine-
line.
Yeah,
Nine
don't tell him.
55
Please don't tell him
PM.
I said that.
April
Oh my
25th.
gosh!
Yeah.
Wow!
One of the
I
Dust Brothers just said there's a
I
better
feel
beer.
lightheaded.
Taras Bulba.
Yeah.
What's happening?
This is, I don't know.
I will say,
quit.
if you want to, if the question is that we have is the tang coming from carbonic acid or carbonation, open up a can of seltzer and immediately drink it right out of the can.
Yeah.
If you're like stinging mouth, if that's the tang, then
That's it.
that's the carbonation. Like that's the way I think the best way to figure out if that's where the tang is coming from. If not, it's probably from the yeast.
Pat, when you have those kegs of parasols that have tang to them, do you notice that there are any high, like, are they foamier when you pour them? Are they higher carbonation levels? Is there secondary fermentation happening in the keg, or is it just that there's some?
No, I
there's
think
some flavor?
there's a lot of yeast in there. I think it's degrading somehow and creating
Like
some off flavors.
By the beginning of autolysis,
we got
where it hasn't quite got
Yeah.
meaty yet.
We only have
Yeah.
4 minutes, guys. Really, probably 3. We got to get out of here because the Boogie Monsters themselves are coming and they got a brand new show
like
coming.
They're
30.
doing a
like
a
30
live
of them.
live set during this crazy
No, they're not. It's
drum
not gonna
and
be live.
bass
It's
reggaeton
new.
freak
It's
out
new.
hip hop weird.
It's reggae. It's reggaetron.
Reggaetron. I see. Well,
A lot of blue lights.
we cannot walk over the Boogie Monsters ever.
So let's I'll
so-
have our final words.
See you later.
You're gonna. That's it. Just
Have
see
a
you
great
later.
day. Try Mars Dry IPA if you're looking for a quality
No calls
brute.
to action. I don't
The
know.
owner-
IPA,
the owner of
it's
the-
just a shill.
Yeah.
The
Let's do
worst.
it.
The
If you're
one
looking
who does
for
it the
if you're
worst.
looking for a brute IPA worth drinking,
Try Pocari Sweat.
try Pocari Sweat with a little bit of Mars Dry.
Okay.
Have you seen
Pat?
that marathon beer?
No, I'll channel Jerry and say I have nothing. I'm late for my freeform jazz exploration in front of a festival crowd later on
Good.
tonight.
Nice.
Well done. You got another one in there.
Are you
you.
really freaking
Well
out?
done. Yes.
All right.
Mike.
I'd say support your local drinking establishments, whether or not they make the drinks there.
And one last time, what is your favorite hoppy, palish beer?
How hoppy are we talking? Because we can get way off the rails on this one.
I mean, what
Are
is
you
just the best?
You already know the answer. You just
whatever.
dissed on
Taras
them.
Bulba.
Man, I don't know. I
Taras
think there's
Bulba is
a,
the best beer in the
there's
world.
a-
Something
there's-
is wrong.
There's
Chris.
American Bison somewhere crying.
Yeah.
Which is
Well,
hard because he doesn't have
he's here
tear
to
ducts
take up
anymore.
the mantle. You know, people grow and they change. Yeah, and sometimes they never were the person you thought they were.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Hey, all right. Well, this is just
Guys,
one episode. This
insiders-
This isn't canonical.
Insiders at craftbeertemple.com. Man, okay, this is not part of the official canon.
This episode can't come out now. I'm ruined.
It's it's not part of the
It was
canon.
like being in a prison, to be
Is this
honest.
the
with you.
beginning of the end? It's the beginning of the end,
Like a
isn't it?
Citra
It is.
prison.
Nobody
Guys,
can hear us over the
thank you.
Reggaetron anymore.
Go. Thank you so much.
Go Bears.
Go Bears. Go Beers. We're going to go listen to Reggaetron, take a picture, and then we'll come back with more of the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable next week or maybe the week after that. I don't think I have any guests scheduled for next week, so we'll see. All right. Bye.
See you later.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.